Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another enlightening conversation where we're going to unravel the mysteries of AI, discover its practical applications, and explore how Amii is driving innovation through AI research and industry collaboration. Let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life: prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we got a special guest, the product owner startups at Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, short is Amii, A-M-I-I. So he's here to shed some light on the exciting world of artificial intelligence and its profound impacts on startups and businesses. In this episode, we're going to explore how Amii is as a leading AI research institute is bridging the gap between AI research and practical application. Our guest will share insights on navigating the AI landscape, building internal AI capabilities, and fostering innovation in the business world. So let's welcome to the show, Mr. Adam Danyleyko. Yo, Danny, welcome to the program today, man. Thanks for taking the time out.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All right, dude, let's do this. Let's jump into the question number one, which is always the plug question, man. You're here to promote something. There's something that your company's doing that you're going to get the message out. What is that?
Yeah, awesome. So we do two main things. We fund fundamental research at universities around AI and machine learning. But a big piece of what we do, the other big piece of what we do is we support companies as they explore, build, and commercialize AI and machine learning technologies. So if you're a startup or any type of company, to be honest with you, I run the startup team, but we work with all types of companies from small mom and pops to multinationals to explore how AI can be leveraged in their business and bring them business value. So no matter what type of business you are, if you're interested in seeing how we can support you on your AI journey, the website's on the screen there. So yeah, check us out and look at our programs, reach out to us, see how we might be able to help you.
Dude, AI is just taking over the world. I saw Elon's Tesla's Optimus Gen 2 robot come aboard. I mean, you're seeing so many different AI platforms hop on stage and really kind of take over. I'm excited for the day to show up when we're walking around with like some free guy glasses and like everything's augmented reality. All those things are stemming because of our advancement in AI. And you kind of mentioned your target audience is kind of all over the board. You specifically working with startups. How does a startup even know they're ready for that AI phase? I don't think many of them know that it's even possible for them at the small mom and pop level.
Yeah, that's a really good question. A lot of startups that we work with are at that phase where they're trying to see how AI could bring them business value. And so a lot of the startups are companies that already have a product in market that's not using AI, but they realize that, or they want to see how AI can drive business value for them. And so a lot of what that is when they start to scale. So they might be able to run their operations using some manual processes in the background. But once you start going from 100 customers to 1,000 customers to 1,000,000 customers, those manual processes really start to break down. And that's where AI really is able to step in and support the companies. And I think
that's huge. The support factor is massive because usually as a small mom and pops, when people take on a new business, they're doing everything. They are the processes that are in place. So for them to scale, they're gonna need to utilize some of these tools. But I'm gonna push back a little bit. I feel like AI is super smart. I'm not as smart. Do I have to be super educated to kind of work in this world? Is there a huge learning curve when it comes to implementing some of these processes? I'm sure some mom and pops are like, yeah, I'd love to do that. I never went to school for all that. What was your educational background? What kind of education you need to start kind of implementing this sort of stuff?
Yeah, Very interesting. So I actually don't have a technical background at all. I have an HR degree. And so I was able to, through my career, go from working in HR to supporting students, to supporting startups, connect with students, and now supporting startups. So that's been the journey that my career has seen. I think when you look at AI as an industry, there are roles and pieces of working with AI that do require hyper-technical individuals, but there's a lot that anybody can do. There's a lot of tools out there that don't require that level of expertise. There's also opportunities where you can bring in people to support your organization and your development without having to have everybody at the organization understand every bit of the technology. When you're looking at a startup, even without thinking about AI, there's a lot of technology that goes into most technology-based startups, and I would imagine that not every single person at every startup understands how every piece of technology works. And so it's the same with AI. You need to find the right people to support you where you need them, and then you need to be able to help manage and lead those teams. So it's about building trust with those individuals on your team to know that what they're giving you and the work that they're giving you is the right thing. And that, I think the trust when it comes to not only those technical individuals, but anybody on your team as a startup is really important when you're building a team, when you're building a product for the first time.
When new technologies launch, I feel like it's always a race. Everybody wants to have that better version of that iPad, the iPod, the cell phone. Like there's always a race in technology to do it better or add a little feature here and there. And that's great because it advances the technology. On the downside, now we have so many different brands of products or services, so many different tools that are trying to achieve the same goal that they don't often communicate well with each other. When it comes to startup businesses, kind of Mickey Mousing a website for this and an app for that and a spreadsheet over here to do this process, it can get really confusing. When they're working with you guys kind of help them kind of fine tune the number of tools that they use, kind of narrow it down, or are we still kind of using AI to just pull these tools and communicate together? How does that kind of work out for startups?
So it's really going to be company to company dependent, to be perfectly honest with you. A lot of the companies that we're working with have a specific use case or a challenge that they are either looking to overcome internally or that their customers have that they're wanting to help overcome. And they're coming to us to help them, number one, figure out what the right tool to solve that problem is. Is that something that they have to build themselves, that they can partner with somebody on, or that they can go and buy off the shelf? Because there's lots of great off the shelf solutions. But some companies need to have a proprietary technology that they build to solve the problem. So we help them identify that. And then we help them through that process of building out a roadmap on how to build that technology out or how to implement it. And then we can help them through that process of actually building and implementing the technology as well. And so we're not as focused on looking at a company's entire tool base and seeing which tools can be pulled together, which ones aren't necessary. We're trying to help our customers solve a problem using AI. And so sometimes that means that the result is that they are able to take what was previously done on multiple tools or multiple manual processes and shrink that down to one more automated process. But sometimes it's a brand new process that gets added to their system as well.
Yeah, I guess it does have to be on a case by case basis, but it's still really cool to be moving forward. What about the fear side of AI? I'm not going to be able to have control over these machines. We have a lot of people that are worried about cyber threats and things like that getting into their infrastructure. How do we quell those kinds of objections that come your way?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fears out there, and I think a lot of them, I understand where people are coming from when it comes to those different challenges and fears. It's anytime there's a new technology that we don't fully understand or not everybody fully understands, it can lead to a lot of fear and uncertainty. I think that's really fair. I think what our role is, so our mission at Amii is AI for good and for all. And we really take that to heart through our entire process of working with a company, right from before we even contract with a client to identify, is this a project that we think is AI for good and for all, and then all the way through the process. So we set up safeguards in the way that we work. We work very hard to reduce bias in any of the systems that we're looking at building. I we use different tools and processes along that way to reduce bias, to make sure that what is happening in the system is documented and understood, and that we're able to then, when we hand that over to the client, they're able to understand the work that went into it. And so as they're building it out and continuing to use it, they understand what's going on within that tool. It's really important to think about it throughout that whole process, and to not think about things like cybersecurity, to think about things like bias and fairness and all these different aspects that are a fundamental piece of AI and of the world we live in, and AI being a piece of that. You need to think about that at the start and not at the end. Not once something's already gone wrong, that's not when you want to start putting a lock on the gate. You want to figure out what's going on and before, so you can prevent something from happening and reduce that bias, or increase that fairness, do those types of things, build that security in right from the very start. And what we're trying to do here is, again, build those tools and processes to make the world a better place.
You have a unique perspective now that you've been able to work with a lot of different startups, people that haven't quite made a mistake yet, people that didn't quite understand where they were going to scale or how they were going to do that. And your team's been able to help them kind of achieve those different levels of success. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs getting started today? They identify a problem, or they're thinking about a business, and they're not thinking long-term exits, processes. They're not thinking all those things. They just have that initial idea. What advice would you give to someone getting started today?
That's a really good question. My number one piece of advice for entrepreneurs, especially at that early stage, is to be obsessed with your customers' problems and the problem that you're trying to solve for your customer. What is that? And how is that changing over time? What you identify as a problem on day one might not be the problem on day 100 or day 1,000. So constantly going back and ensuring that you're solving the right problem, and that the energy that you're putting towards in your business is driving towards that ultimate goal of what you're trying to solve for your customer, regardless of what that is. I've seen lots of companies come in, and the problem that they thought they were solving changes over time, and they keep solving this problem when it's actually over here now. And there's a lot of wasted time, energy, resources put towards solving the wrong thing. Being able to know when to pivot and when you're right, and you're going down the right path, and when you're not and you need to pivot, is very crucial, especially at those early stages, so that you're not wasting very valuable and precious resources that could, if you waste enough of time, money, you lose your company. Your company doesn't exist anymore if you're not solving the right problem, and you've wasted a lot of time building something that wasn't what you actually needed. So being able to keep that focus and constantly double check that you're doing the right thing is, I think, a very crucial piece of advice at that early stage.
I was interviewing somebody the other day, and they said the problem is that most people fall in love with their solution rather than falling in love with the customer's problems. And I think that's kind of it's an ego boost right there, right? Like, you solve the problem, you have the solution, you're like, yes, I'm amazing. You only didn't realize that the problem that you were solving isn't as big an issue anymore as it was in the past. So it's definitely makes a big difference.
I think that's a huge, I 100% agree with that point. And I think when a lot of are now being associated more with academic researchers as well. So we have around 40 researchers that are Canada CFAR AI chairs. So these are world-renowned AI researchers, and we work to support them, but also all their grad, PhD, and postdocs that report up to them. And so we have this giant pool of researchers in our network that are doing fundamental research, cutting-edge research, and when you're doing that research, you get obsessed with what your research is. And then if you want to try and commercialize that, I think they have to have that mindset shift that you just talked about, where they've been so obsessed with the solution, what they're trying to figure out, that when you start shifting from your research to a company, that's when that mindset shift needs to happen. And it's not just about your thing, it's about what you're doing for that customer. And that's a big pitfall I think I see when it comes to academics turning into founders.
Well, and then oftentimes that's where the hockey stick happens in a lot of these businesses, is when you stay true to solving the problem. You do fall in love with your solution, but you're able to make that mind shift and pivot. You have these pivotal moments in a business where things drastically change. You've been able to see that with the different companies you work with. What are some of those pivotal moments that stick out in your head? You had this company that did XYZ. They were in a certain spot. They did these things, and within a certain time, like it just kind of hockey sticks. What was something like that you've been able to experience implementing some of these processes and procedures with AI?
That's a really good question. I think there's been a lot of examples throughout my time with companies that I've worked with companies that I've just seen in our community as well. And I think it really comes down to these examples of how you're able to transition from a manual process to an automated process. That's when a lot of that rapid growth is being able to be achieved. I've seen many companies start at a very local level, so they might be focused on Edmonton, the city that I'm located in. They might be focused on our province or in a Western Canadian perspective. But in order to expand across the Western Canada, across Canada, into the US or around the world, those manual processes, like I mentioned earlier, they really break down. You're not able to review every application by hand. You're not able to do every audit of an invoice manually. You're not able to check every blueprint manually anymore. And you need to have those automated processes. And that's when you're able to see that shift from that manual to the automated process. That's when a lot of those companies are able to see that start seeing that hockey stick growth. And then it's how can you, a lot of times people are worried that AI is going to replace them. And what we see more often than not is not a replacement, it's an augmentation of an individual's skill. So someone who is reviewing blueprints, if they were doing that by hand, they'd have to look at a blueprint, identify let's say they're identifying beams on a blueprint. They'd have to manually look at it, circle all the beams, tally up that number, figure out how much to order. If an AI system is able to look at it, able to scan through it, identify that all, pull that all together, then the human can come through and just verify the work of that system and double check to make sure nothing was missed. The double checking is maybe 10% of the time needed to review that, as opposed to doing that whole process themselves. So now that one person is able to do 10 times the amount of reviews by using that tool to help them than they would have been able to do by themselves. So that's really when we see the best results in almost every use case that we work with, is when you're able to take a human expert and an AI system and see those two come together. That's when the best results often happen, is the marriage of both sides.
And I feel like that's what you guys do best, which is technically my next question, right? There's a reason why clients come to Amii and they work with you guys, and there's a reason why they're not going to the competition. There's something about what you guys do really, really well that stands out, and it's something that they want to work with and find out more about. So what is that? If you had to narrow it down, I mean, it's probably what you just kind of explained, that marriage. But what is it that your company does best?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that we do really well. On the startup side, we really work hard to have our startup So we're a not-for-profit. We're based in Edmonton here, a not-for-profit. So we work very hard to have our startup programming be as affordable as possible. So we have two different startup programs that are application-based, but they're actually free of charge for startups, Canadian startups that get accepted into it. We would take startups from outside of Canada as well, but there is a nominal fee for those startups to participate. When we're looking at all of our other programming, a big differentiator between us and other organizations is the fact that because our programming is fee for service, we don't take any IP. So any IP that is created or co-created through any of our programming remains our client's property. We don't take any ownership of the IP. We don't take any equity in any of the businesses that we work with, which is different from a lot of, on the startup side, from the accelerators and incubators around the world are often taking either IP or equity or both. And we want to make sure that remains with our clients. Our goal is for companies to build up their own internal capacity to build AI, and that means that what we're doing is not a turnkey solution where we work to build something and then we turn it over. Our goal is to work collaboratively with our clients so that they can build up their teams and they can continue that process after working with us. Is to create an ecosystem of companies that are able to build and leverage AI technologies, as opposed to here's a tool that you can use and you just plug it in, come back to us if something goes wrong. It's really about that community and that building up of our clients.
Yeah, and they're already driven. They've proven the fact that they're driven. They have this application that they want to kind of implement, and they've applied. They've been approved. They're ready to rock and roll, and you guys are there to kind of help push them along.
Yeah.
What is it that you feel as a company you're trying to improve upon to make better for these guys, so that when they come on board, that transition is smoother, the outcome is better? There's always something that you guys are working on to make better. Might be internally on your team, might be for the client facing side. What do you feel that is?
Yeah, I think something that we're hyper focused in on AI technologies, and the building of the AI technology. And so something that we see oftentimes is a company will get to a point with us where they know what they want to build. They know what it's going to take, but they need to go do some data science work in order to get their data and their systems ready to do that AI. And so that's something that we're not focused on. So what we're doing is building relationships with other organizations and trusted partners that we can have that mutual referral program with. So you can say, we'll get you to this point. Here's someone who can take you to step 2, and then we'll be able to take over in step 3. And so I think that's a big piece that we're working on and continually building out. On the research side, where we just announced a $30 million investment earlier this year to bring on over 20 new researchers to the University of Alberta. And these are researchers looking at the intersection of AI and machine learning and different studies across campus. So it's AI and biology, AI and physics, AI and space. And so it's not just researchers coming to the computer science faculty, it's researchers that'll be all across campus, all focused on AI and machine learning, that we're looking to bring into the University of Alberta to support more fundamental and applied research as it comes to AI and machine learning. So those are just a couple examples of things on both sides of our business.
Man, you guys are just like literally cutting edge, getting everything you possibly can, staying up front as fast as you possibly can. And there's obviously funding for a lot of this stuff, mainly because it is so new. It is going to be revolutionizing. It's changing the way that we operate business in general. And what you guys are doing is it's fantastic, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
it's cool to be able to bring it, especially to startups who may not originally have those resources, but to have that power backing from people who are researching this stuff all day long and then implementing those results into their business. I mean, that's huge. Where do you see the vision of your organization going here in the next couple years? Maybe the path that you see AI going on, and how you're able to kind of help business grow using what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I mean, AI, I think, has really become something in the zeitgeist over the last year, maybe 2 years. But it's something that in Alberta here, our provincial government made a large investment over 20 years ago into AI. That's why Amii exists today, is because of an investment that happened well over 20 years ago in the middle of an AI winter into bringing AI to the University of Alberta and putting that focus in there. So our researchers that we've been bringing to the province over the last 20, 25 years, we're now seeing a lot of that benefit of that. So I think looking into the future is continuing that investment. How can we continue to stay as a world leading institute, a leader in the world as a province, as a center of excellence for AI, not only in Canada, but in the world. And so like I mentioned earlier, we have that investment to bring in new researchers into our community and into the city, into our university. That's going to be a huge opportunity for us in order to continue to push that research. I think as we look on our more business side, supporting industries, how can we continue to support not only startups, but small mom and pop shops, large companies, international organizations, government bodies across Canada and around the world. So in our name, we're the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute. We're based here in Edmonton, Alberta, but we work with companies all across the country and internationally. So how do we continue to build that ecosystem of startups, of companies, of industries, of governments that are leveraging AI? That's really where I see us going as an organization, and continuing to build on our successes of the past 20 years moving forward. A big thing that's a part of that is we actually, over the last couple of years, have been running an AI conference here in Edmonton. So it's called Upper Bound, and we've run it the last 2 years. This upcoming year, 2024, will be our third iteration, and we're looking to have over 5,000 people come to Edmonton for the conference from around the world. So these are last year we had people come from I want to say it was around 50 different countries. These are AI researchers, AI professionals that are able to come to Edmonton to engage with our community, not only of researchers, but of companies and startups and students, and see what's going on, share their resources, share experiences, and really learn and grow together as a community. So that's something that we're continuing to grow and build right here in the city of Edmonton. And I think that's a huge opportunity and just one of the many things that we're doing to continue to grow our ecosystem here in Alberta.
Heck yeah, you guys are definitely making it happen. Sharing, learning all you possibly can, sharing that with the different industries, and then bringing people from around the world to share what they've done. I mean, that's how we get things done here. These large language models work on a lot of data, and we as humans need to be able to sort that data as well from each other, our own living experiences. If people want to reach out, they want to find out more about what you guys do, maybe submit a company that might need a little bit of help, or find out more about these events, how can they do that?
Yeah, so check out our website. You can see it scrolling on underneath my picture here. That's going to be the place where you check out our programming, information on our research, information on our conference. We have an intake form on there as well. So if you're interested in learning more about how we can engage with you and how we can support your company, explore AI and machine learning, fill out that form. We'll be able to reach out and set up a time to chat with you to learn a little bit more about you, and then figure out how we can support you and your company moving forward.
Perfect. Adam, thank you very much for coming on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, AI is the future. It is here, whether you want it or not. And if you are not going to be implementing a lot of these processes in your business, you're wasting a lot of time. You got into business for financial and time freedom, and these operations and procedures can save you so much time, give you the ability to scale. And you just kind of heard just a little bit of what AI can do on today's episode. So make sure you guys check it out. Amii.ca, AMII.ca is the website scrolling across the bottom. Adam and his team are here to help you guys out and learn a little something that you may not have known, and then even better, implement it in a way you may not have understood in the past. So Adam, thank you very much for coming on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home.
Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast, but not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get started